Um, and hiring staff, we don't have enough demand to hire more staff right now. Um, and so we're just sort of reached our limit, I'd say, or we're very close to it. We can do more events, but like I say, we can't do all the ones that we get asked to do without giving up our public shows. If we give up our public shows, we have to raise the price of the event, because now we're giving up the revenue. So it's a real balancing act, basically. But if you want to do something on Saturday afternoon, no problem. You want to do it basically any weeknight, no problem. We'll figure out a way to accommodate it. Okay. And I am frankly surprised people are not aghast at what we charge. What I can tell you is we charge a lot less than the gardens. If you want the gardens, you're about twice as much as if you want the planetarium. And we don't have a problem if it rains or snows. In fact, we can simulate the rain or snow if that's what you really want. You know, so we can simulate any sky you want, or pretty much any vista you want on the dome. So we have more options than if you just, you know, rent the garden. And we are less expensive. So we have some more things we can do, but without actually adding space, we're starting to really be limited.
And if you were to get this new space, would that also help you bring in new exhibits?
I'm not sure about exhibits, because we hadn't envisioned expanding the lobby, not significantly. What it might let us do, with more funding, we could turn those exhibits over more often. Okay. So you may notice we now have 3 touch screens over there. With more funding, for example, we could write more programs for those touch screens. We've got a grant proposal in. We have a large collection of meteorites. They've been stored in boxes in the basement. We are in the process of making display cases for them, and and the attendant information, so that we can start to put them on display. We can do more of that if we get the addition. It lets us do other things, especially if we can bring in more event money. That's the step, is addition, more events, more funding for other things. One of the things we could do was turn over the exhibits more often. We can buy more shows. Shows are not cheap. We can buy more shows, so we can have a wider variety of shows, both for the public and for our school groups and for events. In another 3 years, we're probably going to start to want to look at a projector upgrade. They're going from, I think this is what I'm told, and because we're dealing with projectors, this is not the same as working with televisions, but my understanding is we're at what they're calling 4K for projectors, and we use 2 of them, one on each side of the dome. That the next generation will be 8K, which will have even more capability, or things will be, at least they'll be even that much more clear, more focused, because they'll have more pixels, basically. Okay, and so there'll be pressure, I'm sure, from Shannon to find the money for a projector upgrade. And the other thing is the software changes. They keep building more capability into the software, so even if we don't change out the projectors, there may be a software upgrade that we'd like to have that'll add some capability that we might find useful. So I think the next couple of years could be exciting. So point is, if you win the lottery, you'd like to have a building with your name on it, just contact us. We'll be happy to talk. You don't even have to win the Powerball, probably. Just have to win a modest-sized lottery. And we could talk to you about putting your name on a building.
You mentioned the meteorites.
Yep.
There was a previous exhibit where you were showing Chinese meteorites. Have there been other similar special exhibits you've done in the past?
That's the first one in a long time. And it's mostly because we have a volunteer who's a meteorite expert, and he loves doing this for us. So he's the one who put that together. So he's a big part of, we're trying to put together a way to basically display our other 60 meteorites. And so I say we've made a proposal for funding. Cabinetry is very expensive, it turns out, especially cabinetry where you can see the stuff but it's protected. Okay, so we've made one proposal to buy some more, buy or have built special cabinets, because of course in order to have the meteorites not degrade, they have to be in special materials, mounted in special materials, so that they'd have to explain it, but it's similar to you know, regular paper doesn't last very long, but you can buy paper that has a 100-year lifetime. So it's the kind of thing, there is a way, you know, whatever it is, acid-free, foam, paper, whatever, stuff's expensive. And our meteorites come in all different sizes, so you can't just buy something necessarily off the shelf that's got nice little boxes and everything fits in it. We have meteorites from, I'd say, I have a impression, sort of, you know, fist size to very small. So figuring out how to display those or grouping them. One of the things they're working on is a grouping of meteorites found in Michigan. We have one. We have, I think this is what they told me. We have the largest collection of meteorites found in Michigan, of anywhere, I think, because people have found them and been willing to donate them. We just got 2 calls in 2 weeks about people who think they found meteorites. I can tell you that based on what I've told, the odds are very much against that, but we have this guy who, as far as we know, will be happy to look at them. And in fact, in order to have some of these meteorites processed for this display, because they really are valuable, and there are specialty processing things like cleaning, he's going to carry them with him on an airplane to a guy who specializes this out west, and he will stay there while the guy cleans them, and then he will bring them back. But they're worth that much that not even putting Federal Express, you know, wouldn't even insure them, because they can't be replaced. You can't replace a meteorite you lose, and you can't readily identify it. You can, sort of, but there is demand for stolen meteorites. So there are people who sell meteorites, and so the history is always suspect. But if you find someone selling your missing meteorite, you can imagine, even with photographs, it's difficult to prove. And if they're not in the United States, hopeless. So we're very careful about our meteorites. It turns out they're fairly valuable, and there is demand for stolen meteorites. So like I say, so one of the things we're doing in trying to really get some, or eventually all of our meteorites to be displayed at various times, not necessarily all at once, we're really putting an effort into doing this, and we're just very fortunate. This guy, this man we have, is retired and loves doing this. So, like I say, he's going to be willing to travel out west, take these meteorites to be cleaned, and I think the guy will help him, probably help him with the narrative on each meteorite. We have some narrative, but he may be able to help. It turns out you can really sort of identify. You can tell mostly the composition and the shape and the weight. Meteorites tend to be iron core, so I'm told they tend to be quite heavy. So even a fist-sized one would be significantly heavier than you might think if you pick it up. And so that's one of the things about them they can tell when people think they have a meteorite. They don't. They have something else. So, but obviously at times people have meteorites, which is how we've come to have this meteorite collection. Many people have apparently over the years donated them to the planetarium. And we hope that'll continue, especially if we get to the stage where we really have a display of them. then people may be more encouraged about donating them, you know, and then we'll display theirs at various times during the year.
Is this collection about as old as the planetarium is?
Well, yeah, yes, but some of the meteorites are older. You understand? Okay.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not sure about the dating of the meteorites, or whether we're doing that, or how accurate that is. But certainly, to my knowledge, we didn't have meteorites before we had the planetarium. I think the planetarium got up, and then people started contacting us about they had meteorites. And in fact, the calls we got this last couple weeks came to Astronomy, who sent them to me, and I sent them to Shannon. So they aren't necessarily connecting the planetarium with meteorites, they're connecting them with astronomy, but now that we're, in some sense, all affiliated, we're sending them over to the planetarium because we've been lucky enough, somebody walked in the door, in some sense, and said something to Shannon and said, hey, I know all about meteorites, do you need any help? He may have been at a show and saw that we didn't have any and just asked to. I'm not sure what the whole history is. But we're certainly very grateful for his help. I think we're hoping we're going to get this grant. We're a little worried about the proposed federal budget, but I think everybody in arts and sciences is. It's not just us. I'm not sure about financial aid yet. But,
We'll keep our fingers crossed.
yeah, right. I think everybody is, right. So it's just the only source of funds for some of these things. I don't know if you could get anybody in the locally, regionally, or within Michigan interested in a meteorite display. There might be somebody, but first they have to find out, and so that's sort of tough. So we're a little concerned. On the other hand, we've had 2 grants from private foundations to help us with things. So we've done okay, is the answer.